All right. So before I keep progressing in John, I want to talk about where we are and what's ahead. So we've covered, in essence, Jesus's earthly ministry now. The last one being Lazarus, called back from the dead. And we're about to make a huge pivot. And John focuses in on this more than any other gospel writer. And I want you to appreciate what's ahead. I want you to go read it. I'll come back and teach it all, but John 1 through 12 is Jesus's public ministry, chapters 1 through 12. 3 years, his signs, the seven signs, public ministry. And remember, John said, I'm writing these that you might believe. And so we now have the captured signs, or miracles is what we often call them. John calls them signs, to give us credence to Jesus being the Son of God. And when we make this pivot to chapter 13, it begins the upper room, what we've labeled the upper room discourse. And chapters 13 through 17 are all the upper room. So get this, 1 through 12 is 3 years. 13 through 17 is a matter of less than 24 hours. And I want you to really appreciate that John slows time down for us, that we can read 1 through 12 and Jesus is doing the blind, all the miracles and all. And we get to chapter 13 where Jesus goes to the upper room. The Last Supper is what we call this. And chapters 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17, 5 chapters are dedicated to the hours at the Last Supper, the last moments Jesus spends with his apostles. And his mission is complete, other than, of course, the cross, the suffering, the dying, the rising from the dead. But the public voice is done now. He's done teaching, confronting the miracles, the signs. And what we're about to see in 13 through 17 is this private Jesus behind closed doors. Like, he's in the green room. This is the real guy, right? He's sitting down at a meal with his apostles. And when you read this whole passage, I would encourage you to read it, like, not to check a box, but slow down and appreciate. This is Jesus, the Son of God, who knows, I'm done. This is over. And if you and I knew today was our last day, I believe everything we would say would have critical value, incredible weight. It would be very thought out, very purposeful. And so when you read 13 through 17, keep your mind open, your heart open. You'll realize there are numerous verses in here that you already know by heart. You may not know, wow, that came from the upper room. I didn't know that. But you're going to find verses and passages that literally come from this Last Supper, this communion that Christ has with his apostles. And it's love, it's comfort, it's slow, it's intentional. And the world got to see his power, 1 through 12, but the disciples are seeing his heart. Like, they're seeing a perspective, a piece of him no one else gets to see, but we get to, like, someone had a cell phone, someone videoed it for us, and we get to peek in at what happened at Jesus's Last Supper. And this anointing we'll come back and talk about, that you're about to read in 12, is the pivot. He comes back to dinner in Bethany. Remember, Bethany's where Lazarus was raised from the dead. And he's at Lazarus's house with Mary and Martha and some others. And someone comes in and anoints him, or pours oil and ointment on him. And it's that moment that shifts everything. The triumphant entry happens next, and then the upper room. And the upper room just really reveals his priorities, his love, his humility, his spirit. Like, who is he? Who is he really? And John slows time down for us so we don't miss this glimpse, this picture of Christ. And if you want a comparative analysis, go read Matthew's version, Mark's version, and Luke's, and you're going to find a couple verses, literally. Like it's going to be like, and he did, it was over. John like takes this panoramic view and says, we went to this upper room and this conversation happened, this act happened, this moment took place, and this is Jesus like at his most human and most divine moment, preparing them for what was about to happen, but also preparing for what was about to happen. And so if the first part of John shows us what Jesus did, the signs, the next, or from 13 on, 13 to 17 and beyond, shows who he really is, like why he did. And it's like, a lot of us have a public persona and a private, and most people don't know the private, right? It's like the closest people to you get to know who you really are. That's what you get to see in the upper room. Is if you think there's any, what is Jesus, who is Jesus, go watch him in his last meal with the people who matter the most to him. So go read chapter 13 through 17. I would encourage you to read it maybe daily for the next week, just to, again, slow down. Like the goal is not checking a box. The goal is I'm in an upper room, and the table, by the way, doesn't have legs. It's on the floor, and they incline and eat with their right hand, and you'll see why that matters as you read through it and what happens and so forth. And just see what it says. See some of your favorite verses that are there. See, try to hear the sound, smell the smell, like make it a high def reading for yourself, and just let it speak to you about who Christ really wants to be in our lives. So thanks again for following along, sharing, commenting on YouTube. I appreciate you who comment on it, and I'm sure in the algorithm somewhere it helps it be found by more people. But thank you for just being part of my life and part of this journey. And I'll see you soon. We're coming back. I will teach on the anointing that happens in Lazarus's house. So I just wanted to take the turn with you, and now we'll break it down even more. All right, peace.